All right, so let's get right into it. In the tech startup world, the classic playbook is always grow, grow, grow at all costs, right? It's all about raising massive rounds of funding, hiring a ton of people, and just grabbing as much market share as you can. But what if there's a totally different way to do it? We're about to look at a company that is just tearing up that old playbook, proving that you can be small, lean, and ridiculously profitable.
So check this out. The company we're zeroing in on, it's run by a team of just 9 people. Seriously, that's it. 9. I'm not talking 90 or 900, just 9. I mean, think about that. In an industry famous for these huge, sprawling campuses and giant headcounts, a number that small, it really makes you pause, doesn't it?
And this is where the story gets really wild. That little team of 9, yeah, they're running a business that's pulling in over $1 million in annual recurring revenue. Just let that sink in. The level of efficiency we're talking about here it's just staggering. It's a kind of output per person that you almost never see in the software industry.
And it's not like they're just dealing with a few friendly clients either. Nope. They've got over 200 paying customers. And we're not talking about small-time shops here. Their client list has some of the biggest, most famous direct-to-consumer brands you can think of. I mean, these are major players, and they're all relying on this tiny 9-person team for a super critical piece of their operation.
Which brings us to the big question, right? How on earth is this even possible? How does a team that could fit in a van build something so powerful that it attracts these huge brands and pulls in over $1 million a year? Well, it's not magic, that's for sure. It really boils down to a mix of 3 things: a very specific product, a really unique strategy, and a culture that's, well, pretty special. Let's dig into it.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the engine that makes this whole thing go, the product itself. They've got this thing called a growth OS. So, what in the world is that? Well, to put it simply, if you're a brand selling stuff online, you know how incredibly hard it is to figure out what's actually working. Like, are those TikTok ads you're running actually making you money? Or is it your Google search campaign? It's a huge puzzle, and that's exactly what the Growth OS solves. It's one single place that tracks all of it, gives you super clear reports, and tells you exactly where your sales are coming from. It helps these brands stop guessing and start spending their money where it actually counts.
Now, having a great product is one thing, but to run a ship this tight, this lean, you need a completely different strategy. And this right here is where this company really goes against the grain. We're talking a total shift in how they think about the business.
Okay, here's the absolute core of their philosophy. You know how most software companies think of customer support? They see it as a cost center. It's just an expense you have to deal with. Well, this company, they just flip that completely upside down. They see customer success as a profit center. They pour resources into having an expert support team because they know that's a huge reason why clients stick around, why they renew, and why they spend more money. It's not a cost. It's an investment that actually makes them money.
And you can see the results of that thinking loud and clear. Their product isn't just some tool that customers buy and forget about. No, it's something they use every single day. Get this, the average software company might see, 13% of its users log in on a given day? For this company, it's 35%. That is almost 3 times the engagement. It shows you just how sticky the product is. It becomes a core part of how their customers do business. And that whole lean approach, it goes way beyond just the business model. It's baked into how they actually work. You won't find any tiny, siloed jobs here. Instead, every single person on the team gets a ton of responsibility. We're not talking about just fixing a small bug or changing a button color. No, you get ownership over a whole chunk of the product, a huge piece of the business. That kind of freedom and ownership is a massive reason why they can move so incredibly fast.
And hey, just because the team is small, don't for a second think the work is simple. This team is wrangling some serious scale. Every single day, they're collecting and processing something like 20 million customer interactions. 20 million! That's a mind-boggling amount of data. And it comes with these really complex, hardcore engineering problems that you'd normally only see at a company with hundreds of engineers.
So, okay, we've got a killer product and a super smart strategy. But that's only part of the equation. The real question is, who are the people who can actually pull this off? Because let's be real, this kind of model with so much responsibility on each person, it takes a very, very specific kind of individual to make it work.
So who's the perfect fit for a place like this? Well, it's not about just being good at one little thing. They're looking for this really unique mix of skills. You've got to be super technical, super curious, but you also need to have that commercial mindset, a real sense for the business.
You have to be okay with getting deep into the weeds of marketing tech, while also being cool with the fact that, hey, a lot of the time, you're making up the rules as you go. Basically, they're not just hiring employees, they're hiring experts who can wear multiple hats.
And they are super upfront about this, which I respect. This kind of work environment, it's intense, it is demanding, and it is absolutely 100% not for everyone.
And let's just be blunt here, right? Who isn't a fit? Well, if you're someone who likes a really structured, predictable 9-to-5 with a clear job description, this is not the place for you. They're after a very specific mindset. They want people who are driven to become genuine experts, people who choose high risk and high reward over just playing it safe. And yeah, you've got to be ready to work really, really hard and do it in person with the team to make things happen.
So where does that leave us? What's the big takeaway here? When you look at all the pieces, the tiny team, the huge revenue, that unique way of thinking, and the culture of experts, you just have to wonder, is this just some weird one-off thing? Or is this a new blueprint for how to build a company?
And really, that's the big question this whole story leaves us chewing on. You know, money isn't as cheap as it used to be, and investors are demanding actual profits, not just growth. So could this model be the future? A super lean, hyper-technical team that is just obsessed with delivering real value to customers. Could that be the new way to build a successful software company? It's definitely a fascinating alternative to that old growth at all costs mantra. Something to think about for sure.